Hello, everybody, and happy Friday! Yes, it is Friday. We have come to the last day of the weekday in the month of September. So, welcome. I am so excited to continue the Real Talk series today. I see we have Ashley on. Welcome, Dance Connections. I hope that everyone joining here today can learn a lot. Just bringing on Ashley. Welcome, welcome. Hey, hey, hey. And also, if anybody has not been able to watch the other previous Real Talks that we did this week, you can check them out. They're right on the Instagram feed, and I'm going to be uploading them also to our YouTube channel if you're interested. And also to let you know, you can ask questions. Feel free to engage in the conversation in this talk and also leave comments if you'd like us to respond to any questions you may have had after watching the Real Talks. So we're just waiting for everything to connect. I hope that the internet functions really well today. Yesterday I had some technical difficulties. Just waiting. Uh-oh, looks like it's not able to add her. Let's see. Oh, there we go. There we go. Hi.
I just was wanting to show you that I had my mask with me just in case. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for joining, and I'm so excited to have you here. So I'm going to, let's wait a few more seconds, I guess, to see if anyone else is going to pop on. And I'm just going to write the title of our talk here on the bottom. So today we are with Ashley Gonzales, who is based in Costa Rica, and we're talking about how Ballet Club changes the outlook of children from situations of extreme poverty and street children as well. So, Ashley, if you can give us a little introduction as to who you are, where you're from, what you're doing, and how long you've been doing it for.
Sure. So yes, Ashley Gonzales, and I am originally from the United States. I was born and raised half of my life in Miami, Florida, the other half in Atlanta, Georgia, and moved to Costa Rica almost 10 years ago. Came here with my husband to do work here in Costa Rica, and I basically started working in what I do, which is I am the director of a Hope Center in Costa Rica. I work under an organization, a nonprofit called Hope Partners International, and each country has their own center, a Hope Center, and so that's basically what I do. I'm the director of the center, and I am a wife, like I said, and I am a mom of 3 little boys. They are 11, 9, and 7. I had to think about it for a second, but that's basically a little bit about me, and I love what I get to do. It's the job that I've always wanted to be able to do with my life, and I knew about what I loved and what I was passionate about. Very fortunate since I was a little girl. I kind of was understanding what were things that I wanted to be a part of, and so yeah. So that's a little bit about me.
Awesome. Can you share what Hope Center does and where it's located in Costa Rica? Because I know that geographically and socioeconomically, the actual physical location of the center is very unique, and actually it might reflect some areas in the United States where somewhat similar programs exist.
Yes. So a Hope Center is basically working with children and their families to help empower them to a better future. Mm-hmm. It depends on where the Hope Center is located as far as focus, right? So there's Hope Centers in India, 2 in India. There's a Hope Center in Kenya. One that was just started in Venezuela. And I've been creating this Hope Center in Costa Rica for the last 8 years. Yes.
Awesome. And can you share the services that the Hope Center provides and the activities that they provide and the age groups that they're reaching out to?
Absolutely. So in the Hope Center in Costa Rica, we are working with children ages basically baby through college. We do have some college students that we work with. We also work with their moms, and we do two main things. We work with relief and development. We have divided our center into those two. And with the way relief works and looks in Costa Rica, because again, in India, it's an orphanage where they work with only girls. They decided to really focus on just working with young girls, or really girls through college as well. And then, like in Kenya, it's the center is very much a school. It's worked through a school, but in Costa Rica, understanding the area that we work with around an area of extreme poverty, or inside of an area of extreme poverty. There's 100,000 people that live in 1 square mile area of the center, and a lot of them are in the level of extreme poverty. So basically, for relief in this area, what that looks like is we do two main things that we focus on. We focus on safety. And the way the reason for that is to give you some context of understanding people around the center. Let me tell you a story of one of our families inside of this center. So a few years ago, we had a school that was close by to us that decided very quickly to send a message to all the parents saying, we need you to pick up your kids. We have been given a warning that there's a gang that's about to come, and they're looking for some specific children. And in the context of understanding the area, there's a lot of gang violence, drug-related gangs. And so the way that they kind of get revenge if something has happened or someone hasn't paid, they don't go after what you would say are the bad guys. They go after the family members, the children, because that's how they think that they're hurt. So this school director, just doing the best that she could, made a decision. Said, you know what, I'm not going to put a bunch of other children at risk. Everybody, where school's canceled, we're gonna cancel, and you need to come pick up your kids. Well, if you can imagine, even in a non-infected area, a mom getting a message, you need to come pick up your kids in 15 minutes. Sometimes moms aren't close by. A lot of our moms work outside of where they live. So this story goes to where there was a 7-year-old little girl that was a part of the center, and she didn't know how to get picked. Her mom couldn't pick her up. So what she decided in her little 7-year-old was, the way I can be safe is I can go to the center. And so for us, when she arrived and she said, she was, I don't know that at 7 they know how to be super afraid of what was going on. I don't think she understood the context. She just knew that her teacher had told her she needed to go find a place, and she didn't know how to get home, so she made it to the center. So for us, that helped us understand that safety is something that we really, really are trying to value for our families. They walk around in fear, and I don't think we would understand that if we haven't lived in that context. Just, we've heard about that in the U.S., maybe some inner cities that have a lot of violence, but I don't know that a lot of us have the context of actually living. Maybe we visited, but we haven't stayed permanently there. So this oppression of fear is just a constant thing. They're constantly looking around, worried about where they're going. Never would they just walk around, enjoy, a nice walk in the neighborhood. And so for us, that was a great story, because we're always hoping that what we're doing is creating safety and peace, but you don't really know. It's not like children know to express, I feel very safe here, or they don't know how to use that word. So when the little girl arrived, it just gave us an understanding that was one of the values that we were trying to create. And yes, we were able to provide that for our kids. So safety is an important part of our center, because the world that kids are in is can be oppressive. And then the other part of relief that we do is providing food. So hunger is a big part of our family and our kids. I think we don't understand the context of hunger until we're around kids that don't eat 3 meals a day. My kids and my boys, I think about, they're eating constantly, they're growing, but they have the ability to go to the kitchen and get a snack when they want. And I give them full meals. In this area, that's a luxury. Um, so we are committed to providing a nutritional, balanced meal for every little one that we have, which we have 385 children that we serve, and their moms. Now that's a new part of the pandemic. We haven't always served lunch for the moms, but during the pandemic, we started adding the moms as part of the food program. So that's relief, and then development is focused on education, and that's where clubs, tutoring, and mentors. And the goal of the development is basically to empower our children towards a better future. And so that looks differently again in whatever context you're in. But in Costa Rica, we have learned that education is where we need to develop and focus on our.
I'm sorry, that last part cut out. That education, what? Could you repeat it?
I'm sorry. So education for us is a huge part of where we're thinking to empower our kids to a better future. And so that's where we focus with our clubs and our tutors and our mentors.
Mm-hmm. Amazing. Yeah, so just to give a short summary for everyone who just popped on, we are here with Ashley Gonzales from Hope Partners Costa Rica, and her organization is there to provide, what was it,
Relief and development.
Relief and development. And so she was just sharing about a story where there was gang violence that was about to be incited, or people who were looking for new children to, I guess, join the gang. And children had to go home, and Hope Center is a place where kids can come to for actual physical safety and refuge, and also where they're there to promote the well-being of the child academically and in many other ways, which you're going to talk about in a bit. But also they have a feeding program, and now because of the pandemic, they're not only feeding their over 300 children, but also the moms as well, because the situation has become very extreme economically, and that's just the need that they're addressing right now. So, moving a little bit forward, I want to let everyone know you can ask questions during this call, any type of question, whether it's about development work, Latin America, what this might look like in your own community, because you can do outreach and you don't have to leave your home country to find a need. And also, if you have any questions about, I don't know, I guess Ashley's journey from the United States to being in Costa Rica, serving the local community there. So let's move a little bit forward. I know that this talk is more focused on the dance club, but everything that your program does is so connected, and it's really important to address the needs of a child holistically, because if you support them also in school and support them in the dance class setting, they can flourish in so many different ways. And as so much research is showing, dance does help develop children cognitively, especially if they're from malnutrition, situations, or situations of extreme poverty or domestic violence. These are things that impact children trauma-wise, so it's so important to have safe and encouraging environments to help grow them. So with that being said, I'll pass the mic if you can give us a little summary about the Ballet Club.
Yeah, I would love to. When we started the center, we understood that one of the things that happens inside of areas of poverty is that you sort of just feel like you're just a number. There's no development around figuring out what is it that I like to do, what is it that I enjoy doing. It's more about survival. Life becomes about survival and responsibility, and there's no room for thinking outside of that box. And so as we were learning about the school systems and learning about what is it that helps a kid believe in himself, or believe that there's something more for him or her other than just surviving. I think that that's where we learned that the clubs like ballet were those avenues where a little girl who maybe always dreamed about, I think most little girls, I know that our kids have access to TVs and movies, and they even come up to me one time and they were saying, could you tell me about Harvard? Because I think they watched some kind of Disney show and it was talking about Harvard, and I was like, oh yes, let's talk about Harvard. But I think that the entertainment and all that stuff shows an idea of a little girl that could be a princess, right? That could wear a little skirt, that could put her hair in a nice bun and dance. And the opportunity to do that was not available inside of Costa Rica as far as the area that we serve. There was that was an extra part of being in part of a private school or more in an area that had more funding. But inside of the areas that we serve, it's just not accessible. And so we said, let's try to think about some interests that kids have that they would enjoy. Again, they're always asking, is there anything else we can come to at the center? Like they're always wanting to come because, again, that idea of safety and beauty. We also bring, I think sometimes what happens is when you're in poverty, everything looks depressing, everything feels depressing. There's nothing visually speaking that gives people the idea of hope. And so we created a center that hopefully all of the environments are full of color and are painted nicely and the floors look nice. Like the idea of understanding about hope, I think you have to first see it, see something different before you can sort of start believing it. And so the Ballet Club, we made sure that when we started it, we had this, room that was allowed to move around and a nice floor. It's actually one of those porcelain floors that I don't even know because I'm not a dancer like but they seem to really move. They like the way it feels when they're moving around on that floor. But they got their uniforms and they would come all dressed up with their uniforms and their hair all, but then they learned the theory behind your posture, and they learned theory behind how to sit like a lady, and they learned how to walk like a lady, and all of those little things that maybe I was never a part of dance, but I thought, wow, this is such a great introduction of identifying, some postures and some ways that I can act like a lady, right? And so that was so fun, and they were so like mesmerized by everything that we did. And what we learned in these ballet clubs that we never want to stop, including all of our other clubs, robotics club, we have a chess club. We have so many different avenues for a kid. It really opens up the idea that I am my name, Ashley, but also I am also a lover of dance, or I am a lover of chess. I'm not just a person sitting in a classroom with all the other kids, and I'm the same as everyone else, where I have to do Spanish, and I have to do math, and I have to do science, and but there's some things that are also unique to what I am and how I'm created. And so those clubs just opened up a whole new world of not just more hours of feeling safe and feeling that I'm in a beautiful place, but more hours of expressing themselves and feeling free to express themselves. So ballet has been one of those, and the Ballet Club was actually the one that we had to kind of stop the limit because there were so many. I mean, I don't know. I felt like every little girl just was so excited about the opportunity, and you can even see in some of our. I think I sent you one of our dance performances. Some of them have no rhythm, and some of them are completely off of beats and don't have the best, maybe what you'd see as the form that they were taught. But they don't know that. They think they're doing amazing. And so just that little moment of an hour or 2 hours or 3 hours a week of feeling that you are not just the same as everyone else, but you have something that's beautiful about you, that's expressive about you, that you can feel free to be yourself and without judgment, was just a beautiful way that we were able to understand why it's important to have these expressions for kids in poverty, for kids that don't have opportunities like this. It's really so much about let's just fill up their time. I think sometimes you can think that maybe, when you grow up in an area like I did, where I had the opportunity to choose anything I wanted, it was more about, okay, what extracurricular sport do I want to play? Um,
Hmm.
Here's all the options. What do I want to choose? And but if I were to describe who I was as a teenager, it wasn't. I wouldn't say I was a student. I would say I was a cross country runner. I was a basketball player. I enjoyed. I was in the choir. So it's those things that defined me outside of everybody else's definitions of me. Um, and so that's been super fun to see them open up their minds and see that they can have that opportunity.
Hmm. And I think every dancer who's watching this now live or who's going to watch this later can definitely relate to that feeling that when you're in dance class and you are listening to the music and doing your own thing and just following the movement and making it your own, that's something that no one can do for you because it's your own body and all parts of who you are working together. You have to have the section memorized and then be able to express it using all of your body parts and then have the heart in it so that you can interpret all the movements. And even if you're not at the level of being able to interpret all of the movements, just that feeling of stretching. I know that my students, the majority of them, what they love most of ballet is the feeling of stretching. It's the feeling of knowing that you're able to take up space and that your body can move in ways that society tells you, okay, sit down, stand up, walk in that direction, don't call too much attention to yourself, right? Or get from point A to point B, and it's very much, I have to do this for my life. But in dance, there's not a reason why you have to. You choose to, and then you love when you are doing it. And going back to what you were saying about Lady, I remember this George Balanchine quote, and it says, I just pulled it up, and it says, the ballet is a purely female thing. It is a woman, a garden of beautiful flowers, and the man is the gardener. And he's also said, George Valentine has said different quotes like, God created ballet for the woman to be expressed and just shown off as how beautiful she is, and then for everyone around them to support them. But just shifting that and kind of thinking in the dance classroom, each individual student, given the type of teacher, it is really there to feel supported and encouraged. And those are so important, especially if you are coming from a situation academically where you're in school and maybe your classroom has 30 children in it and you don't feel like an individual, but in ballet class you know you're an individual because you have your own part in this section, or because the teacher actually corrects you because technique is important. So having a teacher come up to you and move your hand is such a one-on-one interaction. And it's so uplifting to kids, especially from hard situations or from larger families where they might not get as much attention from their loved one or the adult figure in their life, or as much as they desire, because all kids just desire to be loved and cherished. So moving a little bit forward, I was wondering if you could share a little bit about the situations of the kids in the ballet club, because I know you said that a lot of them have sisters who are in ballet club, and maybe share some examples of where the kids are coming from, what their houses might look like for people who are watching that aren't from a developing country, because it looks very different, poverty in different areas of the world, especially in a developed country versus a developing country.
Yeah, so like you said, extreme or poverty is defined differently in every country, like you said, and the government defines that. But for our area, it's basically a family of four that live off of less than $400 a month. Now, I will say this: most of our families are not four people; they're uncles and aunts and grandmas, and they're all together in the same house. So usually, it could be 6 to 12 people in one small house. Not all of them have concrete flooring. Not all of them have, a lot of it is a dirt floor. A lot of it is they've created a home based on what they found of metal sheeting and a tarp. And so a lot of times when I talk about beauty, have never been able to see anything other than where they've lived, what they see. And so a lot of times having the ability to come to a floor that's not just concrete, but porcelain and is clean. And that, you have a mural with bright colors. That's just something out of a context because, again, it's a context of survival. And that's why the individualness of us can't flourish in that environment. A mom can't really even if she desires to want to think about her child in different avenues besides just, I just need to give them the basics, give them a place to sleep, and I need to give them
Mm-hmm.
food, and I need to figure out how to keep doing that. A lot of our kids live with single moms, or a dad. A lot of the future for our boys is to be involved in gangs, because that's where they see money happening. That's where they see something of profit happening. Where the guy with the great car is the lead guy in the gang. And so the idea is not that they want to grow up to be a gang member, but they do want to provide a future for their family. And if they don't see those options outside of their context, they don't know what that could be. And so I can give you an example of something that recently happened. We have a group of teenagers that we are really working with very closely, because these are the kids that over the years have really shown initiative and dedication, just shown up. Even they just have trusted us
Yeah,
to
yeah.
guide them in their and so what we did was we started asking them, hey, what would you like to do one day? Like, if you could dream about something that you would like to do. And it was so hard. It was so hard for them to think about what could be outside of what they see. And a lot of them said, I guess I could clean houses. I could, none of them said, I'm going to sell drugs. Again, they know that that's not a good field to be in. But I think that that's sort of the result of not getting any opportunity outside of their context. But anyways, a lot of them said they wanted to be tour guides. And I was like, tour guides, that's interesting. And then it made sense because in Costa Rica, it's a huge, a huge part of the GDP is tourism. So we have brought missions teams and team volunteer teams to our center, and they're not tour guides, our leaders of these teams, but they have looked at them as tour guides, because we do take our teams to see different parts of Costa Rica and serve in different parts.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was a funny thing to me, is that's if they see it, they're like, yes, that's what I'm. And so when we started the English club, it was like, that's what I'm going to do, is I'm going to do English club so I can become a tour guide. So again, the context, it's just understanding what opportunities were afforded to me that maybe in another context people don't have those luxuries. And so that's where the idea of kind of, we've taken them to different places. We've done different field trips. We took them to a jump center one year, and that was like the greatest thing ever. We took them to a movie theater to watch. I mean, again, to think that a kid has never been to the movies was just super, super fun. And I can tell you another story about that, but I don't know if you want to go on to another topic.
I just first wanted to comment that I relate a lot, because here also last year with my one dance group, we went to perform at the Guatemala National Dance Conference, which was some of their first times ever going to that province, which a lot of people do travel to because it's one of the major cities. But it was the first time for almost every single student to have had gone to movie theater, except for a few of them who are from one of the children's homes that takes the kids there on field trips. But it was so shocking that these children, had never left. And when they did leave, it was because of the opportunities that this program was providing to them. And then that opens their minds to the future potential that they can have. Because it's true, if you don't see it and your parents don't talk about it, you don't understand the potential that you do have. And there's a saying here, and it says, what I make today, eat tomorrow. So really, as you said, these families are in survival mode, and they're just trying to figure out how to put another another plate of food on the table the following day, the following week, the following month. And so that doesn't leave a lot of extra room for thinking about everything and how beautiful it is, and the flowers that are popping up, and the butterflies that are flying by. But it's so important for these kids to have a place where people who are adults can encourage them and help them dream big and see the world as beautiful, because that's what children naturally are meant to be doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and it's kind of a privilege to be in this side of it, and just to say um, that I get an opportunity that kind of opens somebody's eyes to other opportunities that are out there. I think a big part of my formation as a kid was sort of rooting for the underdog, sort of understanding that there are some voices out there that are not heard, that there are some people that don't really have a platform to be able to talk about, or even know how to talk about, what their life is about. And so how can I help to be a voice for them, and to open up what I think is intrinsic value that they have been given and created with. And so how can we get I mean, it's a really cool and awesome privilege opportunity to be able to say, I'm going to try to be a voice for you, and also provide opportunities that maybe someone else can as well. And you have just as much value, intrinsic value, as I do. Just because I grew up maybe on the other side of the track, just because maybe I was given privilege, that doesn't mean that my value is different than yours. And so I think that that's what gets me passionate. That's what I could say as a little girl, just learning that, seeing my parents maybe be a part of those things. And I still remember just moments where my dad or my mom would do those things, and that didn't connect necessarily. I wasn't thinking, oh, I want to do that. It was just watching and seeing it. So for any moms or dads out there, your kids are watching, and they do remember and see, and they do catch it, even if they look like they're the most bored. I take my boys to the center with me, and I'll be like, okay guys, we're gonna start, I need to repaint this wall, so you're gonna help me. And oh mom, and I'm like, oh Lord, what am I doing? I'm not raising my boys well, like they're just complaining about. But I know, that they see it. I know that they understand, and I don't have an expectation that they're just gonna, be some world servant one day. That's not what I hope. That's not the goal, but it is the goal to like my parents did for me. Just be myself and model what I'm passionate about, and I'm passionate about justice, and being an advocate for people who don't have a voice. And I know that one day they'll have known that about me, and that is just a privilege. It's a privilege of what I get to do.
Awesome. It's also so incredible because in the process, we might have some difficult students who are there because they're really interested, but we're not exactly sure how much they appreciate the experience or actually want to be there, or if their parents are pushing them there because the parents know it's good for them, because maybe the child doesn't react. But it's always beautiful to see a year or two later when that child has the moment where they have the courage, and then they tell you that they appreciate the program and how much they actually love doing that activity. And then you remind yourself, okay, it's okay. And there are so many children in these situations, and also, even if the kid might not appreciate it at the moment, as so many of us, like when we were 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 years old, in the future we know that it did have a positive impact. And talking about that, I want to shift gears a little bit and have you talk about the academic support that you offer at the center, and also how maybe the ballet club or the robotics club might draw in the child, and how having those extra academic supports helps the child grow in other ways as well, and how those two together might help the child grow confidence as a whole.
Yeah, so I think the way that we have figured out how we can help most in academics is to understand and individualize our children. So where that's caught is through a mentor that's actually paying attention to you, and is saying, I'm going to look at your grades this week and see where we're not, just catching things along the way that most of our moms, again, that are in survival mode, can't do. Some of our moms never had an opportunity to learn how to read and write. They don't even know how to help their children academically. So having a mentor come alongside of a kid and just say, you're one kid, but you're going to be important to me this year. And so we make sure that our mentors are understanding that this is a year at least of a commitment, that they show up. just show up. You don't have to be excellent at math. You don't have to be, the most studious person. But for kids, for these kids, they have not really had anyone that's just shown up and stayed. Just kind of said, I'm going to stick to it. Even on days where I may not feel like coming, or even on days where I'm feeling a little sad myself, or even we just are asking them if you just show up, because in those moments of showing up, you catch the things that people can't catch when you, like you said, when you're in a schoolroom of 40 kids, and everybody is a mess at the moment. And yeah, your grades have been going down for 2 months, but so has all 20 other kids that have done it. And I don't have the ability as the teacher to tutor all of you. And so with what we found academically is the best way is to say that I know this kid's name, I know their age, I know a little bit about them that's different than what even I would know. I can't know 385 kids. So that's where volunteering comes such a big part of, I think, any nonprofit work. We could not do most of our work without volunteers that are saying, I'm going to come and I'm going to help you in whatever you're doing to see how I can help. And so when we get volunteers that are mentors, I think they're more crucial than what I do, because they actually make more effective change in an individual kid's life. So we're able to catch, okay, this kid in Spanish is not doing well, this kid. And on top of that, it's just that kid starts to develop a circle of trust with that mentor. Oh, she's showing up every week. She's asking me about my grandma that I told her was sick last week. She's asking me about my dog, like those little things that show a kid that someone's listening, someone's paying attention. So mentor is how we catch where tutoring needs to happen. The clubs, I feel like, are what I would call our lobby in a house. Like, it's our welcoming. It's the place that it's like a felt need that. But why I wouldn't say a felt need, because our relief part, our food, our safety, our beauty. A kid isn't going to say that that's a felt need of them, but we know them as an adult, so we are going to provide those felt needs. But then, if you were to ask a kid, what's they just want to have fun. Honestly, every kid wants to have fun. So how can we make fun for them? When you have fun as an entrance to what you do, you've met the felt need for the kid, and then it allows you to have trust for the other programs that you say, hey, we want you now, you're going to have a mentor. And a lot of times our clubs, our professors, which we actually pay our professors for what they do in their clubs. We think it's that important. They have a value or a skill that we think we need. Sometimes what can happen, and if you're a volunteer, just know this is part of, working with volunteers. We know that a volunteer, we can't make you do anything. We can't ask you to show up. We can just hope that you show up. You know what I mean? And so that's why choosing volunteers, or actually if you sign up for something, you just kind of understand it's important to us that you show up. You know what I mean? But for our clubs, our ballet club, our robotics club, we pay for that part of our program because we value it that much, because we know that they're creating a flow of confidence or trust with our moms and with our kids. So the way that we do the academics is through creating fun, beautiful, hopeful spaces that after that they follow you. They follow you. They follow you. You say, okay, now, Mom, we're going to give your student a mentor, and this mentor is going to see them every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Please make sure that they show up. By doing that, it's sort of like a give and take. I think that everybody, if we work with people in poverty, they don't want to feel like they're just a charity case. They want to feel like there's a back and forth, that I can provide value to you. Even though I can't pay for my meal, what could I provide as value? And so that's where we have this kind of formalized meeting where we have the mom sign her commitment with her child. We have a meeting with her once a month. We give her a report from the mentor about how her child is doing, but we require her to be there. And we've had to learn that the uncomfortableness of taking away a child for a few weeks because mom didn't show up is a better way to help her understand that we're serious about her and her child. And so, and she comes back in the program and she says, I'm going to show up now, like it's just one of those things that we learn along the way. But that's how academically we can know what tutoring we need to do is through our mentors.
And another, just adding a comment onto something that you just mentioned, commitment. The idea of commitment in Latin America and Central America, based on my experiences in Latin America and the Americas, versus in the United States, is very different. I see that people are more hesitant to make a commitment, and if they do in the United States, in my experience, if you make a commitment, that means 100% you're going to show up. But that's not the case for me here in Guatemala. And that's one reason why I also do contracts with my scholarship students, so that the parents and the child are aware of this is a real commitment, and if it doesn't happen, there will be consequences. And that's important so that you can understand discipline, because discipline, especially in the academic segment of life, it's important for you to finish middle school, then finish high school, and then if you have the opportunity to go on to university. Can you speak a little bit about the challenges that maybe you have faced as well? Because I assume that commitment is a difficult thing, especially if moms are running around between 2 or 3 jobs just trying to figure out how to feed the children.
Sure. I have learned quite a bit about culturally what some things have been ingrained in different parts of culture. I do think the U.S. Has created a lot of systems of volunteerism. Like, I do think that word volunteering is something that is often something we see throughout our span of growing up in the U.S. Whether it's in churches or in organizations, I think that that's something common. I think understanding the context, for example, that when we came, my husband actually, he's a pastor and he started a church, but the Latin American culture is a Catholic church. And that isn't something that's a lot of like, hey, come volunteer. It's more of coming to attend. And so I think it was just understanding that we're coming into a culture that maybe this hasn't happened before. Now, I will say that I have found that with a new generation, I would say, 30 and under, I think that they here in, at least in Costa Rica, have really developed a mindset of giving, of being part of something bigger than just me. And so I have found that a lot of times my younger volunteers, maybe it's energy, maybe it's that they have more, I wouldn't say they have more time, but I do think that there's more of a talk in their generation about giving back. And so, but what I have found just in the challenges of different cultures, different contexts, and not bringing one that's kind of putting one down and putting the other one up, but actually just understanding what are the challenges and why is it hard to do this. I have learned through time that if I'm just upfront and honest about the expectations, I may lose a lot of people because of it. Maybe I got 100 people to sign up to be a mentor, but after my initial conversation and email, but maybe after that I only got 10 to show up. Those 10, after understanding the expectation and signing up, are committed. And so it's not lowering my expectation, it's just being aware that people will emotionally have a desire. After maybe a talk, someone does this inspiring talk and they're like, yes, they want to do it. It's okay that people drop off, and it's okay that they don't believe in what you do, and it's okay because it's not your responsibility to force them or even convince them. It's really just your responsibility to cast the vision, be the voice for those little ones, do what you can, kind of leave it all out on the field. The results are that's all you could do. You can't force what someone else maybe isn't ready for. But those that are ready, it's so fun. And I just have learned to not, I know this sounds awful, but just not expect too much of somebody. Just kind of expect it of me. and then leave that there. And then what results happen, that's really up to you. And in my worldview, what results happen, in my view, it's up to how God is going to use people and how people want to feel like they want to use their life. And just do my part. And my part is also understanding and learning context and speaking into those things and saying, I realize. And so I may not ask you to be a mentor right away if you've never volunteered before. I might start off with you just kind of being a sub-mentor, like a co-mentor, because I might be throwing you out into the ocean too fast. So, but there are challenges culturally and context and also just maybe it's my age. I feel older, 40, but I think it's also with experience and time. The more I put an expectation on people, the more I was disappointed. And so I just ended up putting an expectation on myself of what I could do and what I could do. And then just saying, I've done what I can do. I'm laying my head on the pillow. I did what I could for today. So that's sort of how I approach all that I want to do in volunteering. And you put a question for me beforehand in the chat when you said, what is my greatest challenge? And I think my greatest challenge, or the hardest thing about what I do, is that I feel like there's so many more kids and families that I want to help. And so for me, it's just kind of when I say only 385, that is like a problem that I have in my own brain where I just want to say, no, I want to help all, 8,000 kids right around me. So the greatest challenge is understanding that maybe one day it will grow more and more, but right now I have to just understand that I'm faithful to these 385. Do what I can. But that's my greatest challenge is I've learned, I've been frustrated in funding, how do I fund this? But it's not so much that anymore. I find that funding follows the vision. But more so, it's just about wanting to help more kids.
And I guess there's only 10 minutes left in the call before Instagram closes it automatically. So with these last 10 minutes, I'd like to, I guess, touch upon two things. So one, if someone is looking to do something similar in their area, just some words of advice. And then two, I guess the biggest lesson learned in respect to how you can reach out to a child and show a child that's coming from a difficult situation that I guess it's going to be okay, but even if things aren't okay right now, I'll walk through it with you. And just the importance of however your approach to that is at the Hope Center.
Yeah, so I would say do it. Just do it. Even if you don't feel competent, ready. Like I have learned that some of the greatest experiences is when I kind of stepped out of my comfort zone. And it was nothing about me. There's this phrase that I have learned in what I do, and that not to diminish who I am, but less of my focus, so less of me is best for me. I really feel like the more I focus on being a voice or being an advocate or using what privilege I had to think about someone else, I am most fulfilled in what I get to do. It's so countercultural because we really wake up thinking, okay, I have this to do, this to do, this to do, this to do, this to do. And a lot of times, if we look at all those things we have to do, it might be a lot of things that are around me and what I want instead of thinking for someone else. So I think that you will grow as a person, and I think you will grow in perspective when you start to say, I'm going to spend an hour, just start basic. I'm going to spend an hour every week thinking about someone else. That whole hour is just going to be about them. What's so amazing about that is that it ends up being that you also grow in that. And you want to do more. You want to do 2 hours and then 3 hours. So I think if you were to ask any person that does what we do, that would be our experience, is that we started off and we just found, whoa, how can I do this, do more of this? And maybe that can be interpreted as selfish because, oh my goodness, I like the way that that I feel when I get to do this. But it's not that that's a bad thing. I think that that's the way we are, honestly, we're created to
That's
think.
God's design, right? Because if we didn't feel like you were also growing by giving, why would you ever do it? Like people like eating because it tastes good. Like
Right?
I that's why I like eating.
Yeah, no, it's learning that that's part of how I was designed, and good to be able to discover that. So that's what I would say for volunteers is that absolutely just go find one thing that I mean, if it's dance, go find a place that needs a volunteer. There are tons of places, like, I'm sorry, there's just so many in the US and all over the world that are desperately looking for a volunteer that has your skills or has your time. And then I would just say the other question, follow up to that second question, is the best thing you can do as a volunteer is show up. Because that is the what is needed. It's not just, oh, they just need my hands or my body, but they just need you to show up and be someone, be a voice for someone. And sometimes that starts off sweeping floors, and sometimes that starts off painting a wall. But as that grows into understanding that that floor was important and that wall painted was important, and it's sort of just being part of just showing up, saying, here, I'm here. Here's my hands, they're open, how can I help?
Mm-hmm.
That's where I would say, for a volunteer, somebody who's thinking about volunteering, absolutely just try it. You have nothing to lose in trying it. So that's what I would say.
Awesome. And then, so the second one, second question, when you are reaching out to these children, what is the approach that you take so that, I guess, in the context that you're in, you can have the biggest impact and really let those children know that you're here because you believe in them and that you see that they have value?
Yeah, kids don't really understand that part. So I just really think about being a kid. And I think, what is it that's going to want to make a kid want to be here? And usually when you think about putting yourself in their shoes, your goals for them will be accomplished as you think about how you would do that thinking as a kid. And so I think that that's where the idea for moms, you're meeting a felt need for moms in our center by creating a safe place, creating safe people, meeting a felt need of feeding their child for them. You're meeting a felt need for a child by creating a space that's fun, that is beautiful, that, where they get, for most of my girls, their ballet uniform is the most beautiful thing they have. Small, tangible things that make them say, that was so fun, I want to come back. When they come back, they don't realize what you're doing, how you're investing, that you're teaching posture, why that's important, that you're teaching that they get to express themselves. They don't see all of these things. They won't understand it until they'll look back, like all of us as adults, and say, that makes sense. That makes sense why my mom or my dad or that person that was investing in me or my teacher, that's why they did it. So I don't ever, when you say somebody, when a kid says thank you, that's like gold. That's like a cherry on top where you didn't need it, but when you got it, it's like, okay, I'm good for the next, month, right? Like I can do this for another month. Those are the kinds of things where I feel like it's like almost a little gift from God. That's like a hug, that God's saying, just, you're doing the right thing. Just keep doing it. And so it feels to me like it's not necessarily a gift from that kid to do that. It's more a gift to my soul, from them to give that to me. So I just say, think like a kid. What makes a kid want to come here?
Mm-hmm. And also when adults have the joy of a child, that makes the child feel like it's okay to be who they are as well, because a lot of times when you get older, you get boring, and then who wants to be around boring people, right? That's what kids say, adults are boring. It's because we become less excitable and less at awe at the things that God creates around us, which are so beautiful. And it's so important to be able to reconnect with that. I mean, not only for the child's sake when you're with the child, but I mean, of course you have to be an adult as well. but also for your sake, because so many times as adults we get so caught up with the details of our career or the different things the list of things we have to get done for all of those around us who depend on us in our personal lives. And then at the end of the day, you ask yourself, did I like fully enjoy and like express and walk in the joy of the Lord today? And it's like, or was I just obsessed with being an adult in the adult world?
Right, right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I don't know if there are any questions from the audience. Feel free to write them in here. And if not, I want to thank you so much for your time, Ashley, and thank you for all you're doing in Costa Rica. Again, this was How Ballet Club Changes the Outlook of Children from Situations of Extreme Poverty and Street Children. And if you are interested in following their organization or donating, their information is on I'll put it below, and also you can find it on the Real Talk series post that I did. And you can also follow Ashley and the Hope Center at Hope Center CR. So Hope Center CR. I want to thank you so much for your time, and God bless, and I will talk to you soon, and I'll see everybody tomorrow on the next Real Talk series.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Of course, thank you for coming.